Hey, welcome back to the Big Red Zone. We are very excited for today's show. Remember, new episodes come out every Thursday. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and hit the like button on this video as well as all our other videos. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Big Red Zone. And as always, tell a friend. This week, we have a very special guest. Aaron Golub joins us for this episode. We're going to talk about this week in the NFL. We'll get our picks of the week, waiver pickup of the week. We'll also do our favorite segment on the hot seat, where we'll talk about NFL coaches, as well as the MLB postseason. All that and more on this week's episode of the Big Red Zone. Welcome to the podcast. This is the Big Red Zone. I'm your host, Big Red. As always, I'm joined by Danny Football.
How we doing, Big Red?
How we doing? And this week we have a very special guest, friend of the pod, OG guest from early seasons of the Big Red Zone. Aaron Golub joins us today. How you doing, Aaron?
Good, man. Excited to be here. How are you?
Good to have you back on the pod. It's been a minute.
Yeah, likewise.
And but we've seen you. He's been a member of every season of the Big Red Zone Fantasy Football League, and it's been a part of the drafts. The drafts have always been fun to get together on Zoom, and glad to have you back on the episode of the Big Red Zone too.
Same here. Looking forward to diving into
what we just were wondering what's new. What have you been up to from the last time we talked to you?
Yeah, I mean, that was what, a couple of years ago at this point. A lot's been going on. Back then I was both in the world of finance and kind of starting out on my speaking career and everything. Since then I've left finance and full time with everything I do is speaking and consulting with companies with my story and overcoming adversity, leadership development, that type of stuff. So that's really the biggest change since then, is just going in on all of that full time, which is fun.
That's awesome. I know, and I remember you were talking to us about how you were starting to go into like schools and speak to different do guest speaking, and that's awesome that you've made the leap. It's cool. I know I can't believe it's funny to say it's been a couple of years since the last episode, but that's awesome. I'm glad to see that, hear about that big change since the last time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Where have you been? Have you been traveling? Have you been where around have you been speaking?
I've been all over, and so like this month is super hectic for me. I was actually in Connecticut last week, spoke at 2 different high schools, and then a couple weeks from now I have 10-ish days from now I have 2 conferences I'm speaking at in Boston area, and then I have a college and a company both in Dallas that I'm speaking at, and then a couple weeks later I'm heading up to Canada to speak at a company for a couple days up there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's our world traveler. He's hitting all the hot spots.
Yeah, it's busy.
That's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear it.
Appreciate it.
How's now? Have you been keeping up with football? I know that I know you're into the public speaking world now, but back to the roots. Have you been keeping up with the football, like this current NFL season, Patriots, all that stuff?
Unfortunately, my team, my fantasy team isn't doing so amazing this year, but the Patriots, we'll get into that. My school, Tulane, is killing it this year, which is awesome as well. But yeah.
Hey, you're not alone on the fantasy football train. It's rough sledding for some of my teams. I was saying, like, a couple weeks ago was probably my worst week ever of playing fantasy football. I had, like, out of my teams, I probably had 5 teams score under 100. This may be my worst year. I think it's a sign to kind of cut back and start cutting out some teams. I think it's getting the 9 or 10 teams is not
You
ideal.
have 9 or 10 teams.
Yeah, it's too much. I do a survivor pool too, so I need to start cutting back on some leagues and team. But it's hard, man. like we've been doing the Big Red Zone one for 3. The Rocks League that we've been doing for like 5 or 6 years. I run a league that's been around for like 5 or 6 years, maybe even 7 years. I'm in another league that's been around for 5 or 6 years. Another league that's been a dynasty league that's been around for like 5 years. So it's like all these teams have been in for like many years. So it's like it's hard to pick one to cut. But I
Yeah,
think next year I'm gonna have to have some serious looks at some of the teams. So um, it's tough. It is tough. It's never been this hard for me to keep track of all the teams. But I think it's time. I think it's time to.
yeah,
It's a sign. You know, you got to see the sign.
100%.
Danny football is actually starting to turn the page in the Rocks League. His team is starting to
I
come
was just about
together.
to say I started clipping leagues out this year, and now it's starting to look like it's working out.
Yep. I have to take a page out of your book. I have to
You
learn my
gotta
lesson.
focus the mind, narrow all your energy into a couple of them, and then see what you can do.
That's what it is. I'm spread too thin.
You
I'm
are.
spread too
You
thin
are.
between all these teams. I'm trying to give attention to all these players, and I can't do it. It's like I'm trying to. It's like I'm owning half the leagues in the team. It's like I can't in the league.
Right.
I can't do that.
I think the years I usually do best in the Rocks League is when it's pretty much my focal league. So
Yeah. I just love it so much. It's the drafts. That's what gets me. Is
I mean, you
they
could just
talk.
do mock drafts and still get your fill.
I know, but it's not the same of like your team. You know what I
Addicted.
mean? I'm addicted to fantasy football. There's worse things to be addicted to in this life.
You're not wrong.
100%. Definitely worse.
If this is my vice, I think maybe I'll add some teams next year. Who knows?
Jesus.
um, I also want to give I'd be remiss not to do it. I got to give a shout out to the Madre. Happy birthday to the Mama Big Red.
Mama Big Red.
Mama
Oh,
Big
happy
Red.
birthday.
Birthday's at the end on Friday, so the 14th. That's Friday. Yeah, so we gotta give a shout out to Mama Red before we get going into this. But let's start it off. First segment of the night. Let's go with weekend recap.
It's the weekend recap.
For weekend recap, we pick 3 games from the NFL week, one of them being the Patriots. First up, we're starting off again 2 weeks in a row with our London game. We're going with the Giants versus the Packers. Second stop on the London tour, because we talked about it last week. Aaron, I'm interested to hear what you think. What do you think about these London games that they've got going on?
I mean, I think they're good to have because, like, from a marketing perspective, they're trying to expand it to other cities, and it's gonna end up going to other places as well. I think for the players, it's definitely hard because of the time zone shift. But I think it's not horrible at the same time. It's what is it, like a 5-hour time difference? It's not. I mean, it's annoying, but I guess if you're going from LA to London, then it's really a pain. I don't know. Maybe it's something where they need to just focus on only East Coast teams, but I think it's smart from the NFL's perspective. I see 100% why they do it.
Yeah, you pretty much said exactly what both Danny Football and I said last week. Danny Football brought up, the marketing and expanding the game, and then like I was saying, it's probably annoying as a player because you're going to travel out there. Probably it's interesting. Some teams travel different days, but like most teams travel out on Wednesdays for the Sunday games, and then you think you only have a couple of days to kind of get your body right for like mentally, like sleep schedule wise.
But the way they should do it then is just a team should only play there if the week after is going to be their bye week or the week before, like something like that.
Yeah,
is the way they should line it up.
I agree. I think that would be a great strategy for it. Like, I think it would even be. I think it could be either, but I think if you're going to do the bye week after, it should be like they should have a full week of rest. Whoever's playing in that it shouldn't be like, the team that just played Monday night shouldn't be playing Sunday morning in London. I think it's got to be like at least a full week of rest. But yeah, I like that. I think adding the bye week before or after London is a smart idea. That way you just give. Or
even setting it to like Thursday night the week before, then the following Sunday there, and then a bye week.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be a great. That would be a good strategy for scheduling. But as far as the games wise, 2 weeks in a row, I think it's been great games. The the Giants. Some people said upset the Packers. I'm not too high on the Packers this year. But Giants win that one. It raises the question: do you think the Giants are for real this year? Start with Danny Football. Do you think the Giants are a legit team this year in the NFL?
I think so far, yeah. It looks like they're really rallying around their coach. It looks like they're all bought in. Both sides of the ball, offense and defense, is looking decently solid. You said it. You kind of said it yourself. This Packers team doesn't look too formidable, but you know, if I'm looking at the Giants right now, they look like a pretty solid team. Am I ready to say they're gonna be one of the elite teams in the NFC? Not right now, but they're off to a good start, especially for a rookie head coach. I think they're off to a good start.
Yeah, I mean, I was hyping up Brian Daboll as one of my favorite coaching options in the off season. When they were picking out when he was like a free agent coach. I think he's done a great job with this team. I think they're all rallying around him. Daniel Jones, I don't think I'm not ready. Like I'm not really. I don't think I'm too ready to sell on Daniel Jones. I think he's a pretty good quarterback. I think he's had a couple rough years the past couple of years, but I think he's still talented. Saquon is playing like the old Saquon, which is pretty much that's what's going to carry them over the edge. And I think I've always thought they had a pretty decent team, so I'm happy to see them start to put it together, and they're rallying around that, like you said, that coach. The Packers side of the ball, Aaron Rodgers can only do so much. He needs people to throw the ball to, and when your best receiver is Randall Cobb, who catches 7 balls for 99 yards, I think that's where I think the Packers fall off. They just don't have the horses on the offense like they used to, where they don't have the cheat code of Devontae Adams, who already has a touchdown tonight. It's just I don't know. I think the Packers are in rough shape, and I think the Giants, when I say are they for real, I think they are, and I don't think they'll. They may lose quick in the playoffs, but I think this is definitely a playoff team.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that they're going to make the playoffs. They're not going to go deep, but I think they're a pretty good team this year.
Do we think the Packers can rally by the end of this year, or do we think they're pretty much Dunsky?
I'd put them more towards the done side of things, especially since Bailey Zappi almost beat them in overtime.
Hey, he's legit.
So they're on the.
Well, that's another conversation, but yeah, I think the Packers aren't going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think you're exactly right. I mean, they're what do they got? They got 1 win on the season, 2? No, they're 3-2. They have a better record than I thought, but I mean, their wins have come against like you said, the 1 win against the Patriots. They needed overtime to beat Bailey Zappi, and then they beat the Bears and the Bucks. The Bucks look really bad in that game, but they beat the Bears and the Patriots. They're going to play the Jets next week. They're playing kind of beating some bad teams. When they play the teams like the Vikings, who are a legit team, I think that will go far, and the Giants. Obviously that shows. So I agree. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, and if they are, they're going to be the lowest seed that can make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Let's move on to our next game. We have the Cowboys versus the Rams. Cowboys win that one. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty impressed with. I don't know if it's so much all to do with him, but I think it has to be said. Cooper Rush moves to 4-0 as the starting quarterback for the Cowboys. If I'm the Cowboys, do I really want Dak to kind of rush back here to be healthy when we're 4-0 with Cooper Rush? I don't know. It's kind of like I think it's going to be the same situation that the Pats are in, which we'll get to them. If Bailey Zappi comes out and wins the next 4 weeks, are we going to rush Mac back out here if he's winning games? I don't know, but a little different.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little different where like Dak is a proven quarterback where Mac isn't, and I think maybe don't rush him back sooner than he needs to. But I think that's something where he's not going to lose his starting spot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and also it all comes down to money too. Like if you're paying a guy $20 million to play, you're not
Well,
going to sit him on the
Bledsoe
bench.
was the highest paid quarterback back in the day, and they rode with Brady.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Do you think Mike McCarthy does that though? I don't think Mike McCarthy has the.
I think it's hard not to
So-
ride the hot hand. He's 4-0.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right. I think it's more of. I think they're just going to keep saying, "Oh, Dak's not ready. Dak's not ready." They're going to just keep pushing it off until they show a little bit. They're going to ride Cooper. I think they will ride
Yeah.
Cooper till the wheels fall off, especially because most of it to do. Let's be honest. Like yesterday with the Rams game, most of it was their defense. Their defense was just overpowering. I mean, they got a touchdown, and most of the Cooper Rush only had let's say what it is. He only had 102 yards with no touchdowns. So most of that was to do with your defense. They scored 22 points. Take 7 off that board as defense, so you're scoring under 20. But I think you're right. I think in the debate, like I've seen this a lot. Like, they're not going to want Dak back, or it's Dak Prescott. He's proven in the league. He's going to be fine. But I think they will ride. They're not going to. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They're going to ride the hot hand and until Cooper Rush loses a game. I don't think they're going to be rushing Dak back on the field.
Yeah.
On the other side, I mean, is it a Super Bowl hangover or what? I mean, the Rams are now 2-3. They have one of the highest payrolls in the NFL. It's not the highest. Is it the highest?
Has to be up there.
I put it there. You can't buy 2 championships. You can only buy one. In the notes. What are our thoughts on I mean, Danny Football, you and I were saying the Rams were going to be one of those teams in the NFC Championship preseason. We were saying they're going to be in the NFC Championship, or had a strong chance of being in the NFC Championship. Do you still believe in this team?
No,
I'll be honest. I don't.
We've been saying it for the last couple of years. They keep going all in. They keep going all in. Much like the Red Sox in 2018, and it looks like it's finally kind of run out. Like you trade every draft pick you have, you throw money at all these guys, and it's looking like it's kind of the well is dried up. So could they put, a good little run together here to kind of get back in it? Yes, but I have not been impressed by the Rams so far. So it's looking like that window's starting to shut.
Do you believe in the Rams, Aaron, or do you think that?
I mean,
kind of figure it out at the end
I
of the
still
year?
think they're a good team. I mean, like, do I think that they're going to win the Super Bowl this year? No. But do I think that they could pull it together and make the playoffs? Yeah, absolutely. I think that they definitely could turn it around to a degree. Do I think that if they make the playoffs, they would probably lose in round 1? Yeah. But do I think that they could turn it around? Absolutely.
Yeah, the thing that makes me nervous is like looking at their last 2 weeks, they got absolutely manhandled by the 49ers, who we're not going to really, I don't think we're touching on them in any of the games, but I think they're a dark horse in this NFL season. They could make a long run because of their defense. And Jimmy G somehow finds a way to put together runs and gets you to the playoffs. And then the Cowboys with Cooper Rush, I mean, two solid defenses back-to-back weeks, and they haven't been able to handle that. So I'm a little nervous about the Rams. I think you're right. I think they'll figure it out, and they'll be in the playoffs. I don't think this is a non-playoff team, but it's not going to be this Super Bowl team that we thought last year. I mean, I was riding the Rams last year into the Super Bowl early. Like I was saying, that's a Super Bowl team. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl early, and I'm not too impressed with them. Matt Stafford he threw a lot of picks last year, but he's making a lot of mistakes. They're having a lot of turnovers, and it's just been 2 ugly games in a row. But I hope they find water and they're able to salvage the season. And I think they'll be a playoff team. Let's move on to our final game, the Patriots versus the Lions. Danny Football and I were a little nervous going into this game. I'm not going to lie. I said I think the Lions, they had one of the top-rated offenses in the league. I know they were missing DeAndre Swift, but still top offense in the league. And wouldn't you know, they shut them out 29-0. Bailey Zappe gets his first career start and first career win as a starting quarterback. general reactions and thoughts of this game, fellas. This dominating win, I think, from start to finish of the Detroit Lions.
I mean, easily the most complete game the team has put together this season between Bailey Zappe leading the offense. Defense was huge. Run game was completely there but yesterday. You said it, shut out the number one offense in the league. Jared Goff looked absolutely lost out there. Kyle Duggar gets his defensive touchdown. And, Kendrick Bourne gets involved. Myers gets involved. It looks like he was kind of spreading the ball around a lot. This kid has something. I know a lot of people are kind of, jumping on it saying, this is the guy. I think we got to be careful. It is, for all intents and purposes, it still is the Detroit Lions. But I like how he's played the last two games. I'm impressed. I'd like to see how he looks down the line. And as far as a quarterback controversy, I think we got to be careful here just because, again, it's the Detroit Lions, but he's looked good.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need a couple more games to see, but honestly, like I've liked him since he was in college. I thought he was really good in college, which he was. And do I think that he will beat out Mac? I don't know. We'll have to see a few more games, but I think that he will be an NFL starter in the next 3 years for a team. Now, that will either be on the Patriots or another team, but I think I am 100% sure he will be a starter on some team in the NFL in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I thought, I didn't really know much about him when the Patriots drafted him. But after, obviously when your team drafts someone, you look into him. And I actually really liked what I saw from him. And it made me a little nervous because I was like, man, this kid looks really good in college. Looks like he had a really good college career. And he was drafted in the third round. Bill's either just being cautious or he's sees something in Mac that he's
we've seen this before when he took Stidham and he always gets like a Ryan Mallett or something like that. So, every now and then he seems like he just kind of looks for depth. And sometimes they don't even make the opening day roster. Sometimes there's a practice squad. So I think he always tries to have at least, take a flyer, see how it works out. And so far it's worked out.
Yeah. But my thing is most of those like high round quarterbacks, like when I say high rounds 1 through 3, most of the high round quarterbacks he took were either when Brady was older and he was trying to find like the Jimmy G's of the world and Jacoby Brissett's of the world. And Jared Stidham to an extent. I mean, he was kind of, I forget what round he was, but he was like a mid
4th round.
Yeah. You wouldn't think, you just drafted this kid 14th last year.
Well, I mean, Bailey Zappe was a 4th round pick too. So
was he a 4th round? I thought he was a 3rd. Was he a 4th?
Yeah.
Well, it just makes me. I just was like, wow, we're drafting another quarterback in the mid rounds when we just drafted this 1st round quarterback. I mean, I get drafting someone like in the 5th, 6th round.
And maybe Hoyer has something to do with it. Hoyer's up there in age. Maybe it's more of, hey, Hoyer knows he only has a couple years left to be actual serviceable backup. So maybe it was more of a, hey, we'll pick this kid up, see how he does. If he makes the team, great.
But here's the thing. I don't think he's going to stick. Like, he's either in a couple of years from now going to start for the Patriots or he's going to want to move on. Like, that's
what happened with Ryan. I mean, they traded Ryan Mallett. So, if Hoyer was like in 2 years, Hoyer's like, all right, I'm out of here. It's like, all right, well, we have Bailey. He knows the system. If something happens to Mac, we can at least plug him in. But if Mac was clearing away the QB1, they would obviously trade him. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think it's actually, I know it's not necessarily a controversy yet. We got to see more out of Bailey, but at the same time, like I'm not 100% sold on Mac. Like he's not.
Oh, I'm not either. I'm saying like a couple of years down the line, if
Yeah.
Mac was like far and away the man,
Yes.
then yeah, you're not going to keep Bailey.
Yeah.
But
Like I wouldn't. It's definitely not a controversy, but like I wouldn't be shocked if Mac came back and Bailey started, or Mac came back and Mac started. I think that it's a toss of the coin right now, and there has to be more film on both.
no,
of them.
I think the pressure is definitely on Mac to come back and perform, because if he comes back and the offense kind of falls apart, we're all going to be sitting here like, were these guys responding better to Zappe, or what are we doing here?
Yeah, I think also 2 things. One, it's like you said it, Zach. There's a lot of people are jumping the gun on this kid, and maybe even myself a little bit.
Well,
to an extent,
it's the Brady complex. It's the
Right.
Bledsoe went down, and Brady was a unknown guy, and he came in, he was fine. So
Exactly. I mean,
But
Bledsoe was
it's partly that, but also just look at his college career. Like he was one of the top couple quarterbacks in college. Like it's not like Brady in college where Brady was not like amazing. Like Bailey was very, very good in college.
I think, and that's the thing. Like I think it's a little bit of that. Like you just had, he's a very good quarterback. It's a little different, but I mean, when you look at it, Max, like the first round pick, he's like one of the top 5 quarterbacks in his draft. He comes out and has an unbelievable rookie year. Everyone thinks this is the guy. Just like with Bledsoe, everyone thought Bledsoe was the guy. Then he gets
Bledsoe
hurt.
did go to a
Brady-
Super Bowl. I'm not going to take that away from him.
Yeah, but I mean, and Bledsoe was a very good quarterback. No one's like, I think people try to take away from the fact of Drew Bledsoe. I think Drew Bledsoe was a very good quarterback. It just happened that he got beat out by an early beginnings of the best quarterback of all time. So I see the comparisons that they make to the story. We also got to remember Bailey Zappi has played a game and a half of his NFL career. Like, I want to pump the brakes, and that's also to Max credit too. Like, Max played one season in a couple games. Like, he's hasn't proven it, but he's at least proven it a little more than. I mean, he did take this team to a first round playoff after a team didn't make the playoffs the year before. So I want to pump the brakes on both of them. Let's see more. Like, Bailey Zappi's probably going to start the next like 5 weeks, not 5 weeks, 4 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. Let's see how he does. The thing I will say that I think everyone's going to pile on to the, Bailey Zappi's the next Tom Brady. He has a heck of a schedule to do it. He's playing the Browns, the Bears, the Jets, the Colts, the Jets. That's probably, he's probably going to get most of those games. He's going to play some terrible teams. So he should be able to, and he's a very good quarterback. So he's going to look good over the next couple of weeks. He's going to make the decision interesting when Mac's ready to go. People are it's going to be like the Cooper Rush situation. I mean, he has a chance to go in the next 3 weeks. He could be looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-0. He could be the same thing as Cooper Rush as a starting quarterback. He'd be 4-0 as a starter. So
he controls his own destiny. If he comes back and plays well, there is no controversy. But if he comes back and struggles, then there are going to be tons of questions.
So to cap off this game, confidence going forward. I know last week our confidence was not high at all. What's our confidence level in this Patriots team going forward? With Bailey Zappi, with the schedule, what do you think? Are we going to see an uptick, or are we going to kind of level off and kind of stay the same?
I think the schedule is kind of the biggest thing. I mean, we get the Browns, Bears, Jets twice, Colts, and then you kind of see the 4-1 Vikings. Things could change by that point, but you get the 4-1 Vikings Thursday night, and then you have a full week. You have another Thursday night game against the Bills. That's the first time we'll see them. So next couple weeks between Browns, Bears, Jets, Colts, Jets, that's kind of the media, that's the heart of your schedule. And I think you said it last week, if you can come out of that 4-1, then you're looking at a 6-4 record heading into the Vikings game, see how that goes. And then you're at least above 500 heading into the Bills game. And kind of, depending on how the Bills kind of shake out at that point, that could be a big division game. So I think the schedule kind of dictates it all. If you can handle this part of the schedule and head into the meat of it, feeling confident, then there's no reason this team can't turn this around.
Aaron,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we can win a handful of games the next few weeks. I think once we start the Vikings, the Bills, the schedule is going to get a lot harder. But at the same time, I think the Jets aren't doing as bad as they normally do this year. Like, they're not looking horrible. I'm not saying that they look good, but like, if we beat the Colts, the Bears, and the Browns, I wouldn't be shocked if we split the games with the Jets.
Yeah,
these are not the Jets of old.
Yeah, it's not a normal Jets team. They've and as much as Danny Football and I are not big believers in Zach Wilson, we've spent many episodes talking about how bad he is. It's like, well, he's not bad, but like how overhyped he is. He's looked pretty good in the couple games he's played. So, hopefully there's some ghosts flying around in New Jersey when we play them, and But I think you're right. The Jets could end up. They're kind of rallying around. Robert Saleh's kind of riding the ship for the Jets, and that's going to be a tougher game than I think we first thought when the schedules came out. I feel okay because, like you said, we're in the part of the schedule where we can start kind of making up what we did to right the wrongs of the first couple weeks of the season. We did it to ourselves last year, probably going to do it again this year. And I think this is the part of the schedule where if we're going to have at least a decent year, this is where we're going to do it. And you're right. You got to win these. You got to win. Like I said, I think you said you got to go 4-1 at least in the next couple of weeks. Really, if you can win all those games, you're in a good spot heading into that Vikings-Bills part of your schedule. So my confidence is better than last year, but I still, trying to stay humble because I know it could end real fast next week with a tough loss.
That being said, I think we have to roll with these throwbacks until we lose.
Yeah, I wouldn't change the jerseys at all. I would keep wearing. They look fresh too. Like
looks good.
I'm a big fan of those. So let's move on. We're going to go to our next segment of the night, picks of the week.
Picks of the week.
So for picks of the week, we pick one game from the upcoming schedule. Danny Football and I are 4-1. It's a barn burner or a seat squirmer. Let's see if someone will take the edge this week. Aaron,
if you're betting the money line, you're up really good right now.
I hope you're listening to us because you'd be up some serious cash. You know what? I meant to check before we started the guest score tally of the season. I've had a couple picks of the week. I think I forget what James and John chose. And Kevin, I don't think we did a parlay bet for Monday Night Football, and it did not go so well. So, I wish I knew, but you can maybe help out. I know there's at least one wrong, so you can right the ship for the guest.
And are we going by the money line too, or just
no? It's just pick win or lose. Pick the winner.
Just
so
any game.
Any game from next week's schedule from the NFL.
Let's pick. This is going to be a tough one, but I'm going to pick it anyways. I'm going to pick the Bills over the Chiefs.
I like it. We like to pick tough games. We like to pick close ones. So I like that. Bills over. That's going to be a potential AFC Championship matchup.
Yep.
Let's write that in here for him. Bills over Chiefs. All right, Danny Football, who do you got?
I had Bills over Chiefs, but I'm going to call an audible.
Oh, man.
And mix it up just so we're not going across the board here. I don't want to start jinxing the Bills.
I mean, let's just be honest, though. I hope I'm wrong on that game.
Yeah, it would help our case. I'll go.
Do you want me to give you mine? So
you go ahead.
All right, I know we're kind of talking about this game. This is gonna be an interesting game for us. I'm gonna be the first one to say it this season. I'm going Pats over Browns. I got to go with the boys in blue. Big game. Bailey Zappe's probably gonna start again. This is an interesting Browns team. You're not gonna have, this is one of those games that we talking about. We need to win. They don't have Deshaun playing, but that being said, the offense has looked pretty good without him. I mean, Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Amari Cooper, Njoku, like they still got a good offense around it. The defense can do what they did against the Lions. I think it's going to be, a big win for us. But this game I could definitely see, if we play like we did against, some of the Green Bay Packers or some of these other teams that we played in the beginning of the season, the Dolphins, we could let this one get away from us. So I'm hoping they pull it out. This is a big win to get back to 500. So I'm going Pats over Browns.
Nice. I'm going to go Eagles over Cowboys.
I like it.
That's a good one.
Will Cooper Rush stay undefeated?
Not on
starting
this day.
Quarterback.
Not on this day.
Not on this day. I like it. So we'll see how we're doing on those next week. Let's switch to waiver pickup of the week. Aaron, as the guest, who is your waiver pickup of the week?
Geno Smith. I think he's been looking really good lately, and definitely would.
Geno. Yeah, I mean, we were talking before the show. I was leaning Geno, but guest got to go with the guest. Guest before guest wishes first. I think that's a good ad, especially with quarterback. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks that were drafted have struggled immensely. Unless you got one of the top 5, you're kind of hurting because trust me, I'm in the Russell Wilson camp in a lot of leagues. So I'm struggling in a lot of leagues for a quarterback. I'm going to pick up Geno in at least a couple of them just to give me some depth or even maybe plug him in to start. Danny Football, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I got Hayden Hurst, tight end. I had him on a couple teams, dropped him just to kind of make some room, but the last 2 weeks he's been going off. He had an 11.7 and a 17.3. Tight end's always thin, so if you could always find a good tight end, Hayden Hurst looks like he's starting to uptick right now.
I like that. So, again, small, not a lot of people there in that position. Fill it in.
No, it's pretty much if you don't have Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews, you're thin.
Yep. I'm gonna go with the guy. Now I hate doing this. I usually go with guys that are under 10% rostered, but I'm going with a guy who's rostered in 47.5. So you kind of have a coin flip if he's gonna be out there, but you should add him 100% if he's there. I'm going Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker III, to be precise. Penny just went out with an injury. He's done for the year. He's rostered in 47.5% of leagues. He had his touchdown. I mean, he's the go-to guy there now. I mean, there's no one else that really stands out in that running back room. So if Kenneth Walker's out there, he should definitely be your first waiver claim of the week in every league if he's out there. So snatch him up if you can. If he's already gone, go with Hayden Hurst or Geno Smith. So I that's going to be in the Rocks League. Just give you some insider trading there, Danny Football. That's my waiver pickup for the Rocks League.
There you go. I have
all
Melvin Gordon, so I'm all set.
Yeah, that was an interesting one too. I mean, the Broncos are a whole other story, man. They're just such a disappointment this year. I thought they were going to be really good. I went every league I drafted either Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton. I drafted Russell Wilson in a couple leagues.
The thing is that they're still, like, for the most part, they're still producing. They're just not winning ball games. Like, Sutton at least had a 12.4. Like, for a flex guy, I'm not going to sneeze at that. And Melvin Gordon put up a 13.3. Like, if my guys eat, I really don't care how the team does. But Russell Wilson is not looking good.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I thought Sutton could be like a top 15 receiver.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah,
like,
if Russell Wilson wasn't tossing him the rock, then he could be, but
yeah, I don't know. I thought
if Russell, if Sutton, if your wide receiver room hinged on Sutton, I feel bad for you, but
yeah, I mean, he was in some of my leagues, Sutton's my wide receiver 2 or even 3. So like it's not the worst thing, but it's definitely not helping me. And especially, if I waited on quarterback this year, I like a lot of leagues, I didn't fall into the trap of drafting a quarterback early. I tried to wait. And, Wilson was there, Rodgers was there. So I tried to pick off some of those guys and I went Wilson in a few and it's biting me in the butt right now. So I may be drafting a quarterback in the second round next year. Just get that out of the way. No, third round. Go with the Josh
pick up Bailey
Allens
Zappe right now. See what happens.
I picked him up in Dynasty.
There you go. Stash him away.
I put him on the trade block. If anyone wants the new Tom Brady, pick him up. That's what I
They're
said.
selling his jersey at the pro shop, so
get it now when you can. Buy stock on Bailey Zappe now when it's low, and then because in a few years he's going to be lighting it up. All right, we're going to move on to another segment. It came out in the news a couple days ago. Actually, it was today. Was it today or yesterday? Matt Rule, the head coach, former head coach, I should say, of the Carolina Panthers, was let go. Kind of a surprise, not really, but kind of a surprise. But we thought it was a good time to do one of our favorite segments, which is called On the Hot Seat.
On the Hot Seat.
So if we're on the hot seat, we go through a list of NFL coaches or whatever sport we're talking about this week's NFL, and we're gonna say after 5 games, are they on the hot seat or do we think they're okay? First up, we'll start off with our man because I think it's gonna be an easy one for all of us. We have to say it because we have a losing record. Bill Belichick. Is he on the hot seat or is he not on the hot seat?
He has a job as long as he wants.
I wouldn't say as long as he wants, but I think he's fine.
I don't think Robert Kraft will ever get rid of him.
I think the time that Robert Kraft had to go separate ways from Bill was the day before they let Tom Brady walk. I think if they were going to let Bill walk, I think he would have went with Tom.
And he should have.
And I mean, it's shown. Tom won him a Super Bowl the next year. So, I think you're right. I mean, Bill's 70 years old. I don't see him coaching much longer. So, but I think he's fine. I think he's going to be there this year, and whenever he decides to retire, until he decides to retire. Ron Rivera.
I'd say hot seat. That team's not looking good.
They're 1-4. Washington Commanders in last place in their division. As I said, 1-4. They just got Brian Robinson back, which was a cool story. But
what season is this for him?
Ooh, at least 3, I think. Right?
I think this is either 2 or 3. I think it's 3.
Okay, then yeah, I agree. If it was 2, I'd say well then maybe not. But if it's 3, then yeah.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, your team's in last place in the division. You just got supposedly every year he's been trying to win games with Taylor Heineke as the starting quarterback, and I mean he brought it to a playoff game in 2020, which I think got him some extra lives to use, but they haven't looked good. They got Carson Wentz this year, did well a little bit, but I think you're right. I think he's definitely on the hot seat for sure throughout the rest of the season. Dan Campbell.
Ah, man.
The tough one.
I mean, he kind of has to be with the record, but the team, he has to be with that record. I know this is his second year?
Second year.
What are they combined with him? They can't be.
I mean, I'm going to say he's on the hot seat. And I'm a big fan of Dan Campbell, to be honest with you. We've talked a lot about him. His offense before coming into the week this week was ranked number 1. That
he's 9-23.
But yeah, I mean, at some point you got to say, like, am I winning football games? And he isn't piecing it together. I mean, he gets people to buy in, but which I think will get him only so far. I think I think it's not all on him because he inherited a terrible mess from Matt Patricia. Like that, Matt Patricia set that team back probably like 50 years.
I mean, the Lions did it themselves when they fired. What was his name? Shoot, the old Colts coach. Damn, I'll never remember it now. Go ahead. I just can't.
No, I'm sorry. But I think, I don't think it's going to be like a rule kind of thing where he gets fired in the next couple of weeks, but I think he's definitely on the hot seat for the next, for the rest of the season. And I don't
think it would be during the year though with him. I think it would be after the season.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just saying like throughout the rest of the season, I think he is kind of coaching for his job because, I mean, how far do you let this? You can only say like, oh, he's got the players buying in so much. But if you go 2-6 or what is it, 2-15? What is it? They play 17 games now. So you go 2-15. I mean, your players can be bought in all they want, but if you're 2-15, I mean, what do you want from them? You got to kind of look a different direction. Yeah. So I think he will get like. I don't think same thing with Ron Rivera. I don't think they're going to let him go mid-season, but I think they're definitely like on the hot seat for sure. Yeah. It's an interesting one. Mike Tomlin.
I think this is a tough one just because he's just been there so long. I don't know if they act. I don't know. I think this is another case of I don't know if ownership has the. I don't know if they have the guts to do it.
Yeah, I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either. I don't even think he's on. It's hard to say because he's 1-4, but I don't think you can say he's on the hot seat. Looking at his team, first of all, he's one of the best coaches in the last decade. It's hard to he's not in the Bill level, but he's like on that tier below. That's like he's a top coach. He has a Super Bowl under his belt, which he's got a lot of mileage out of. The other thing is that we got to remember is they're kind of in a rebuild mode. They just lost their franchise. I mean, even though he's bad, it wasn't that great the last few years. Ben retired. They have a rookie quarterback going. They had Mitch Trubisky for the first few weeks. Now they're going with, their rookie quarterback. I think he's going to get a little leeway in these next, for the rest of the season at least, to kind of let this quarterback build up this quarterback and see what they do. They were in the playoffs last year. So I think, look at this, I don't think he's on the hot seat, but I think people are going to just kind of turn away from him this season and be like, all right, you're going to probably have it's kind of like the Cam Newton year for the Patriots. You're going to have a terrible year, but we'll revisit this next year when you have an actual starting quarterback. Have a quarterback with some experience and, would be able to move on. You get a top draft pick in the next year's draft to kind of build with that. Also, they lost their best defensive player week 1 in TJ Watt. Like, that's a huge loss for the Steelers. And they really had that. They were in the driver's seat for that first game, mainly because of their defense. And then once he went out, they kind of just folded. So I think he's not on the hot seat, but I think next year, if they continue to struggle, I think they're going to start being like, all right, we got to kind of figure it out. Here's another interesting one for you. Sean McVay.
Safe.
No, definitely not.
Safe.
Yeah, I think he's okay. I mean, you just won a Super Bowl, so you can't really fire fire your head coach. But 2-3, the last couple of weeks it looked bad. So I don't think he's on the hot seat. Cliff Kingsbury.
I'd say hot seat. That team is in a bad spot.
Yeah, likely.
I think he's on the hot seat for sure. 2-3. This team, he came in as one of the best offensive minds, and they're missing one of their. I mean, I guess you could give them an out by saying they're missing a top offensive weapon in DeAndre Hopkins, but I mean, he's been there for a few years now, and they're I call them frauds every year. They're not. They choke when it matters, and they're not a very consistent football team. So I think for sure, if he doesn't win with this team, they have a really good roster. But if he doesn't win with his team, he's going to have a lot of people looking at him. Lovie Smith.
I think he's safe. This wasn't really his mess.
Yeah,
he's probably fine.
Yeah, I'd say he's fine.
First year coach. I just did it because he's 1-3. He's inherited a big mess. They got a bunch of draft picks. They're going to build around it. First year for a team. I mean, I think they get a lot of leeway. You have to really mess up, like what's his name, Urban Meyer, to get thrown out after 1 year of head coaching on a bad situation. So, I agree. I think he's safe. But again, tough record. You had to throw him in there. Just a couple more, or I think we have one more. Yeah, one more. Josh McDaniels.
No,
No,
I think he's fine.
But he's got to start putting it together because this is looking bad. Although they're looking really good right now. So,
yeah, I think he's safe.
I think he has time.
Safe, but he does have a shorter leash of amongst the first-year coaches in the NFL because he's coming into a great situation in Vegas. They have an unbelievable roster.
Well, I think if they do bad this year and next year, then yes. But I think if they do bad this year and he turns it around next year, then he's fine.
I think if they do bad this year and they lose the first 3, like if they're 1-3 next year at the beginning of the year, he could be like Matt Rule and they fire him early in the season. Just based on his track record where he was terrible in Denver. he came into a good situation here with the offense, like the fact that they were 1-3, I think, or they were 0-3, I think, with that offense. It's pretty bad. Like, that's a good offense. They should not be losing games. But I think you're right. I think give him some time. Obviously, right now, right now in the what is it, 17-0 right now. I think they'll be okay. I need them to kind of pump the brakes though, because I have a small lead and they have Derek Carr and Josh Jacobs going against me. So I need them to kind of pump the brakes here. Kansas City kind of step it up. Oh, Kansas City just scored. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's good. So 17, probably 7 now. But I think you're right. I think he's okay. I think he's good for this year, even if they have a tough year. But he could, if he has a bad year and a bad start next year, he could be out of a job early next year.
Yeah.
So that was all the hot seats. We'll see how they do throughout the rest of the year. But it kind of sends a shockwave through the NFL when they fire a head coach in the middle of the season, especially this early in the season. So we'll have to see how it shakes out and how the rest of those teams and those coaches do. Let's turn our heads to MLB postseason. We didn't really talk about this last week, but we had our wild card rounds. I'm just going to quickly go through it, and if you have any general reaction or who you think is going to win the next series, just let me know. Cleveland Guardians defeated the Tampa Bay Rays in the first round, so they'll play the Yankees. Who are you rooting for in this next series? I think it's no.
We're rooting for the Guardians.
Yeah, I'm not even going to ask you guys. We're going with the Guardians. Go Terry. Seattle over the Blue Jays. They're going to go play the Astros. I don't think this is a tough question, but I don't even know if I really want to ask this. But who you rooting for in the next series?
Mariners.
Yeah, I kind of hope the Mariners win it all. I'm rooting for Seattle. I think that would be an unbelievable story for them to win the whole thing. Yeah, now, before we move on, I know who we're rooting for, but who do you think's going to win those first two series?
I think the Guardians honestly have a good shot, and I think the Astros will move on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I hope Cleveland and Seattle wins both of those. I think the Yankees are frauds. We talked about they always find ways to lose big moments. So, they've looked like a different team this last couple months. So, I don't have a lot of faith in the Yankees. The quicker they lose, more odds that Aaron Judge will leave, which will be even better for me. Even if he doesn't come to the Sox, if he just leaves the Yankees, that will be good in my book. But yeah, I think the Astros will probably win, but I'm hoping that Seattle beats them, and I hope they end up winning the whole thing. This was a tough one. They had the dancing on my own in the locker room, but Phillies beat the Cardinals to move on to play the Braves. Before we talk about, give our predictions, got to give a shout out to Albert Pujols and Yadi Molina, their final game in the MLB. Kind of tough to see them go out the first round, but, 2 first ballot Hall of Famers without a doubt in our game. I was kind of hoping they would. I was hoping they'd make a run this year, but wasn't in the cards. What do we think? Phillies versus the Braves. Who do you root for, and who do you think wins that series?
Braves for both.
I don't really care, honestly, in that series, but I think the Braves will win it.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool to see the Braves win, especially after they lose Freddie Freeman. Everyone was kind of saying, "Oh, the Braves are going to have a bad year." They're fine. Baseball is a different game. They played really well, so happy to see them, win it. And I'm not a big. Even though a couple of our guys over there from the Sox, with David Dombrowski and Kyle from Waltham is playing for them. I kind of hope the Braves win, and also it's if the Phillies lose, or the earlier the better, because then Xander Bogaerts won't have a good reason to go sign with the Phillies in the offseason. All right, last one. Padres beat the Mets, which is kind of sad to see because the Mets were so excited for the season they had. It was tough to see our Dave Griffin's Mets lose in the wild card round, especially after they were in first place pretty much the entire year except for the last few weeks. But they will go play the Dodgers. Padres play the Dodgers. I think that's going to be a better series than people probably thought. I think it would have been I think it's a better series than Mets versus Dodgers, to be honest with you. But who do you think wins that series, and who do you want to see win that series?
Man, I want the Padres to do this, but the Dodgers are gonna roll, I think.
Yeah, Dodgers are going to. I'm pretty indifferent for this one also, but I think the Dodgers are going to.
I think I'm in the same camp. I mean, the Dodgers have dominated the season since first inning, first pitch of the season, all the way through. They're just a wagon of a team. But I would love to see the Padres make a run, especially after losing one of their best players, to have that story and then be able to beat the number one team in the MLB. That would be a cool story for them to have. So room for the Padres, but I think the Dodgers are going to win that one. Any prediction who you think is going to win the World Series before the ALDS and NLDS start?
I'll say Braves.
Aaron, any guesses?
Honestly, it's a tough one. I mean, I feel like it'd be dumb to bet against the Dodgers, honestly, but I feel like they a lot of times screw it up. But I'd say Dodgers if I had to pick one.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers are a safe bet, but I'm gonna go with the Padres. Gonna roll with the. I think they're gonna be an underdog in this series, and I think if they can get through the Dodgers, they can get through any of these teams remaining. So I'm gonna go with the Padres. All right, so that's our MLB postseason. We'll kind of look back at that next week, see how the series are going. It should be a good postseason. The season, the wild card round was pretty exciting. They changed the format this year, and it was pretty entertaining to watch. So we'll have to see how it goes. Let's move on to our final segment of the night, the People's Topic.
It's the People's Topic, baby! People's Topic.
For People's Topic, you run our Instagram and Twitter page at Big Red Zone. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want to talk about this week. First up, Dave Griffin. He writes House of Dragons. You guys watching House of Dragons?
I've seen a couple episodes.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
I have to admit it makes me feel better. I haven't seen it yet. I don't have that streaming platform. And I hate to admit it. I don't know if this is a bad thing to admit. I've never seen Game of Thrones.
I haven't
Neither-
either. I've seen a
Oh,
couple
wow.
episodes too, so I'm not that deep into it either.
Jack Moran was here. He would be flipping out right now because I think Jack Moran's a big House of Dragons,
Game of Thrones
and
guy.
big Game of Thrones guy. So, yeah, never got into it. I
There
don't know
are
what it
certainly
is.
dragons in it. I'll give them that.
Yeah, nothing against it either. Definitely some houses too in there. I'm guessing there's some houses.
There are some
there's
houses of
drag-
people. There is some, some family marriages going on. So it is very, very
many
on brand.
dragons.
And there are dragons.
Yeah, nothing against it either. I have no it's not like I've sat there and been like I don't want to watch the show. I just haven't. It's just hasn't been in the cards, I guess. It made me feel better that you guys haven't seen it and weren't really that much into it. This one comes from Emily. She writes the check line for the Bees: Hall, Pasta, and Krejci. Nice reactions to that.
I think the Bruins have a good shot this year. They're gonna have to play a little bit of ugly hockey, but it's looking like it's one last ride. I think they can do this on a high note.
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance. We'll have to see, but I think it's they could come out one more time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as sold on it, but I think if they're gonna win, this is the year. You're running out of years with this older core of guys. So, I am optimistic, I'll say. This one comes from Ed. He says, why do you think Bill Belichick what do you think? I don't think he's meant to say this, but I'm going to read it how I think he's supposed to. Bad typo here, Ed. Why do you think Bill Belichick has been so hard on Kendrick Bourne? I think he had a typo there and how he typed it. But why do you think he's been so hard on Kendrick Bourne?
I wish I knew. I don't know. I don't know what
know.
the issue is. I know they had like that practice thing week 1, but that shouldn't be carrying over to the entire season.
This has all the feels as a Malcolm Butler Super Bowl situation, and I'm kind of over it. Like you already cost us a Super Bowl bill. Like let's.
Well, I mean, this is what Bill does. Like he doesn't even take like snow for an excuse of missing practice or being late to practice. So this is just his MO. Is if the littlest thing happens, he kind of puts the guy in the doghouse. But I mean, we don't exactly have the kind of weapons to be doing this to Kendrick Bourne. So I mean, he benched Edelman for the foot thing. So
By the way, Rex Ryan's on The Amazing Race. Did you know? Did you
is he?
know that?
Wow, good for
Yeah,
him.
yeah. I'm a little behind on it, but it's funny to see Rex Ryan on. He's pretty funny on that show. Yeah,
That's
I mean,
funny.
I also don't know what the situation is, if it's still just that or if it's something else, and I don't think we'll ever will. But I'd like to have him figure it out because Kendrick Bourne will help us, I think, in the long haul for this season.
Yeah.
All right. This one comes from. I'll save that. I'll save that for a second. This one comes from Lauren. Lauren had a beautiful wedding Saturday, so shout out Lauren. That was the wedding I was at this weekend, Danny Football.
And that fire ass suit.
In that navy blue suit. It's going to be on me for the next 7 weddings. So I hope everyone likes
Run it, my man. Run it.
She has one simple one with an exclamation point. Xander.
Resign him. Get it done.
Bring him back.
Yeah.
It'd be a great wedding present to Lauren too. So let's
There you
get
go.
him. Let's get him back in a Red Sox uniform. I kind of want to say pages for the end, so I'm gonna or close to the end. Obviously, Joseph_Celia will be the last one, but let's go to Instagram here. A lot of people's topics today. They heard Aaron Golub was coming on, so they had to get them all in for us. All right, this one comes from Jeepers. D's12Ds on Instagram. He has a bunch of emojis in there. I don't know what that's supposed to be. As the like smile with the rosy cheeks emoji, like the blushing emoji. The smile with the glasses emoji, and then looks like a young kid emoji. So I don't know what that means. But I hope that means he's a fan of the show. So thank you. eFits94 Ed, he's getting in there twice. Ed found a way to put in 2 people's topics, but we'll allow it. How about them Pats? So he writes. How about them Pats?
Them Pats looked pretty good. I'll give them that.
Yeah.
This next one comes from B Reynolds 1999. How Bailey Zappe played against the Lions. I mean, we kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
I thought he looked good. You know, let's take it in stride, one game at a time. But first game for the kid, he looked good. All right, let's get to Paige, and then we'll get to Joseph_Celia. Paige writes, if you have to live through a horror movie, what would you pick? Oh, that's a good one.
The original Halloween.
The original Halloween, not these new ones?
Original.
Aaron?
That's I don't know. That's a good one. What about like Jaws?
Ooh.
You know, I'm so mad because I was gonna say I don't know if this counts, but I'm going with Jaws.
Oh,
'cause
Jaws definitely counts.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm a huge Jaws guy. Steven Spielberg's first movie. It was just such a banger of a movie. We're on the same wavelength today, Aaron. We got the same waiver pickups. We got the same movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go Jaws because that would be my. I think I would be able to survive because I just wouldn't go in the water. I would be smart and be like, all right, I'm done. I'm not good. I think that's an easy save. It's an easy save of your life. Just don't go in the water. Get a pool. Invest in a pool. Are you a horror movie guy?
Not like a ton. I mean, like not against them. I just don't a ton.
Danny Football, are you a horror movie guy?
I love horror movies.
You strike me as a big horror movie guy. Horror movie connoisseur, I would say.
Connoisseur, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not I'm a big scaredy cat. I don't like horror movies. Mrs. Big Red got me to watch the newer of the first. I think it's called Halloween Returns or something like that. It's the first one.
Yeah,
of the new
latest
the new
one comes out this Friday.
Halloween Ends.
Mm-hmm.
I got through that one, but then they start getting kind of crazy. I don't know. I'm just not a horror movie guy like you. Last one, Joseph_Celia. Great question. He writes, right now, do you want Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson as your top wide receiver?
Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
I go Justin Jefferson too. I mean, even right now and for the future, Justin Jefferson is just unbelievable. I said he's the best wide receiver in the league a couple weeks ago. I don't want to jinx him again because the next week he did Slay shutting down. So, but I still think he's the best wide receiver in the league right now. But thank you for everyone for writing in for our people's topics. Remember, you can write in each week through our Instagram and Twitter page at Big Red Zone. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you want to talk about. Also, give us a follow. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, and always tell a friend. My thanks to Aaron Golub. Thank you for joining
I appreciate it.
Great to have you back. And as always, thank you to Today Football for joining. Thanks for listening, and have a great week, everyone.